Thanks for joining us on this edition of Development Update. We are here on a very cold February day down at the Incinerator site, what is now known as Osprey Overlook Park behind us, adjacent to the Weymouth Back River, adjacent to our great Esker Park. And we've got some great news that's occurring down here. We will be in the process of taking this down very shortly. So by way of background, the town looked at this site back in the 1950s when we had our town form of government. Our independently elected Department of Public Works Board formed a building committee to look at this site to build an incinerator as a means to address removal of trash here in the town, etc. That effort stalled, was revived in the early 60s, and the building committee that was put together in the early 60s was able to put this proposal and move it forward. It was approved by the town, and the incinerator was opened up in 1964. I think there were about 20-year bond floated for the construction of that. Unfortunately for the town, before the bonds were even paid off, in the early 1970s, as a result of federal Clean Air Act legislation, the incinerator was basically rendered obsolete at that time. There was a huge amount of costs that the town would have had to incur to bring that up to snuff under new federal air pollution laws and Clean Air Act laws. So they ceased the burning of trash here. They converted the site into a transfer facility for town trash, and that operated until about the mid-90s when the operation of the transfer facility ended. Some other activity occurred here, compost facility. I know the town in the early 2000s looked at potentially turning this over to a private trash contractor and turning it into a commercial transfer station, baling station. That didn't materialize, fortunately, and basically the site has just fallen into complete disrepair since then. As a result of some of the pollution that occurs here, we have problems with asbestos, we have problems with lead, arsenic, some of the burnt ash that still remains in the building is giving off contaminants. The biggest problem, believe it or not, we have is pigeon guano, but that basically dries up, gets hard, and eventually flakes and gets into the air and causes some problems. And as a result of all of that, the State Department of Environmental Protection a number of years ago stepped in and got involved in that, and we are actually under an administrative consent order. It's not quite a full-blown consent order, it's the initial stages of a full-blown consent decree, but the town had been taking some steps in the past to try to address that in minor steps, just to kind of hold DEP at bay, things like sealing up windows and sealing up the doors. As you can see, that effort really didn't produce the desired results, and the building is quite porous. So really, since the mid-90s, this problem has been the can's been kicked down the road and basically ignored. We have an opportunity now to address it, and that's what we're doing. We have some money available to us through the host community agreement that's been signed with Enbridge as a result of the startup of the compressor station. After we fought that for a number of years, had 22 lawsuits, and delaying that as long as we could. Unfortunately, the federal government and state approved the necessary permits there, and we entered into a host agreement. And one of the things that allows us to do in that agreement is to address environmental problems that we have in town like this. So the significance of where this site is, we have, what was a dump, what was a landfill where they buried the ash. That has been remediated in the past, and we've made strides under my administration to really enhance this resource and protect the Back River. And we created Osprey Overlook Park here a couple of years ago. We secured a grant to do that, and it's really been a great asset to the community. Gets a lot of use. It ties in with the Back River Trail, the master plan that was done about 20 years ago that we're completing. It's interesting to note that the last two remaining pieces of the Back River Trail master plan is the Durante property, which is adjacent to us. We're working with the T that still controls that land, the MBTA still controls that land, and we're working to getting that land cleaned up, and that'll be folded into the Back River Trail. And the only other remaining piece is up at Iron Hill Street, and we're in some design work phase right now for that. So to culminate the Back River Trail and the completion of the Back River Trail after 20-something years will be a big achievement. And taking this incinerator down will certainly be a big part of that and enhance that. The Back River is an extremely important environmental resource, as we all know. It's one of the major herring runs for the state. It has been designated a number of years ago as an ACEC, which means an area of critical environmental concern. And it is the closest river to metropolitan Boston that has that designation. And to get this incinerator out of here, not only from an aesthetic standpoint, but from an environmental standpoint, is going to be significant. The cost to do this right now, the measure we put forward to the town council was for $940,000. It's a little bit of a moving target. We spent about $90,000 to date to do some engineering work, some initial environmental permitting. We had to take a look at the stack that produces revenue for the town with the cellular communication antennas that are on there now. Those leases have expired. We looked at renewing those leases, and we were going to use an upfront payment from the cellular companies initially as the funding source to take down the incinerator. One of the things we found, though, when we did the engineering study on the stack was that it's unstable. The amount of money that it would take to stabilize the stack, repair the stack, simply to host those antennas made absolutely no sense. So the stack is going to be part of the removal process. And we hope that we can stay within that $940,000 figure. If we're not able to do that based on the bids that will be coming in soon, we probably will use some CPC money at the end for some of the site work and plantings, and that'll occur at a time when we change the designation on this site from industrial to protected open space. So it will be folded in with Osprey Overlook Park and be permanent open space. Environmental permitting that's going hand in hand with this is being done by Beta Engineering. They did the initial assessment for us on this. They're handling the permitting on that. And again, part of some of the compliance issues with DEP, along with the bids that finally come in, will determine the final cost of this. But again, we hope to stay within the 940. But again, a lot will determine on the bids, and that's been a mixed bag in recent years, given the economic climate that we're in, et cetera. So it's an exciting project to see this go away. Some people I know have called it a landmark, but I don't know if it's the kind of landmark that we enjoy. It'll certainly enhance the aesthetics of this site and address a major environmental negative that we have here in the town. One of the questions that's come up thus far in this project is what kind of enhancements will occur on the site once the incinerator is gone. We really intend to keep it as just passive open space, but we do have the ability to put some amenities here if something the community wants to do down the road. There will be a walking trail on the perimeter of the site, which will link with the main walking trail here, that also links up with Great Esker Park. So that'll be the one enhancement we plan for now, along with a number of plantings that will occur, add some additional trees down here and some tree cover. One of the long-term things that we're also looking at here is the old animal crematorium, which we cleaned up and now is on a temporary basis is hosting the transportation department for the school department while we undertake the Chapman project. So there'll be some changes once Chapman is built and the transportation vacates the old animal facility here, and there might be some opportunity, whether it be a kayak rental site or something along those lines, but that's something to be determined with this property also. We hope you're down here enjoying Osprey Overlook Park. We hope you're enjoying Great Esker Park. This will be a great enhancement, and we hope you enjoyed this edition of Development Update. See you next time. Thank you very much.